another thing is there is a chat at the bottom panel if you're new to this, and you can always type in the chat, ask a question, and Olivia is going to make sure she keeps an eye on that, and she'll interrupt me. But we'll have some time at the end of the webinar for Q&A too. So just, Olivia, later you can just scroll through those and we can make sure we answer all those. I don't want to leave out my other daughter, Emily, who doesn't want her picture shown. She's here in case my tech fails to help me on this end. So I feel like I'm a really good coach, a psychic, and all that kind of stuff, helping people, but technology is not my strong point. So our internet just actually, it crashed before I tried to get on. And then I went, Emily, please help me. And then we got it to work again. So fingers crossed, this works. Okay, so this is the boundary challenge. I really appreciate everyone who showed up here. And it's my intention that we just learn and grow together. And it's really, I'm only half the equation. I mean, I created the space, but it's you coming and asking questions and getting out of it what you want. We're creating something together, and that's the magic for me. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go through, I have some slides. I'll go through that, the content first, then we'll do the Q&A at the end. Let me see how I do this. All right, I think it worked. Can you see my slides? Sybil, thank you so much. Your animation is helping me figure out if I'm working or not. Yes, thank you for doing that. Okay, and I can move this over maybe a little bit more. Okay, so this is the boundary challenge. Thank you for being here. We're gonna get clear on what you need and want in your life and how to lovingly create the boundaries to achieve it. Let me see if I can get this right. Olivia, can you make me, what do you call it, the spotlight? Like it on yours, like when you're looking at my screen right now, can you see the Zoom, like one of us on the Zoom call, or can you just see my slides?
I see everyone at the top, but I think if I spotlight you, it's just gonna make your face take up the whole screen.
Oh, okay, then we don't want to do that. Okay, but you can see my slides? Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so here we go. So I've been working on this throughout the week, and this boundary challenge has morphed a little bit. So I am excited to share this with you. And Emily, I can't make my slide. There we go. So last night I was with another one of my daughters, Stephanie, and she was reading these books. Do you guys remember those books from Neil Donald Walsh about conversations with God? I asked her to hand me her book while I was working on this class today, and I just opened it up. I said, what's important for me to tell this group? And this is the sentence that I just opened the book up to. It said, I tell you this, putting yourself first never leads to an ungodly act. And I thought that was perfect as when I'm going to talk to you about putting yourself first, because I think it's one of the hardest things for empaths and sensitives to do. So this class is for you if you're struggling as an empath and sensitive, if you're struggling with boundaries. I think most of us do. And you want to get clear about what you need and want in your life. And this class is for you if you've tried to set boundaries in the past, but they don't stick. I can totally relate to that. And you don't like the idea of people being mad at you or disappointed in you when you set boundaries or when you say no to something. And if you feel drained, exhausted, physically worn down, or even ill, that was my issue. I think a lot of us empaths can get ourselves sick from doing too much for others. And you have a desire to isolate yourself. And I think that happens to empaths a lot because since we don't know how to set the boundaries, we would just rather isolate ourselves and not deal with it. So my intention for this group is to get clear, help you get clear, and lovingly set boundaries. And doesn't this sound different? If I said we're going to set boundaries, or if I said we're going to lovingly set boundaries, doesn't that feel different? I love lovingly setting boundaries. It means it's coming with love and not strict. And stay till the end because I am going to do a raffle for one lucky sensitive, but you have to be here at the end and in the chat box say you're still here. And I'll explain that in a little bit. So this is just real quick about me. If you're, I can see that many of you know who I am, and that's great. But if you're brand new to who I am a normal person. I have a lovely family, a husband, a dog. I'm a sensitive myself. I'm just like everybody else. Like I struggle with anxiety and depression for a long time. I was completely unaware of what a sensitive was. I didn't even realize that I had intuitive abilities because we as sensitives do. And I didn't really have anyone to talk to about what was going on inside of me and what I was dealing with in my life. So that's really the biggest reason I created a space for other empaths and sensitives to connect. And it's awesome. I've had so many people reach out to me like, I never knew there were more people like us. So it's very refreshing or a relief to find out that we're normal. And I have great things too, not just the anxiety and depression, because I've healed that. I feel really healthy and balanced now. I'm aware of my sensitivities and my abilities. I help so many people now with my own sensitivities and my own abilities, and I help them heal their lives. And I also help a lot of people step into becoming healers, which I love. So who am I to teach this? I'm a certified medium in the Mediumship Mastery Program. I've helped a lot of people do and be what they want to be and figure out what they're supposed to do with their lives. I teach psychic and intuitive development for many years, and I've helped people now, thanks to the internet, all over the world. It's a dream come true for me. Okay, so let's take the first step in setting boundaries right now together. So we're diving in. So we're going to set the first boundary right now. I want you to turn off your phone. I want you to turn off your notifications if you know how. I don't know how to turn off mine. And I want this hour to be for you. Like this is you putting a line in the sand, just saying, this is for me. This hour is for me. That is an action step. Okay, so if you've done that and you're not driving a car, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to take a deep breath in and blow it out. Take another deep breath in. Feel your chest expand. And exhale completely. Feel your shoulders start to come down. Take another deep breath in. This time, take the breath to your belly. And exhale completely. Every little bit of air needs to come out. This hour is for you. Just you are receiving right now. You're not giving, you're receiving. I want you to practice that feeling of taking it in, letting me serve you right now, and you receive it in the way that serves you. You are receiving. And I want you to say this to yourself if you feel comfortable. I'm open to receiving. I'm open to receiving. And see how that feels in your mind and in your body. Okay. One more breath in. And exhale. Open your eyes when you're ready. Good. Hopefully you feel a little more settled, and I want us all to practice being really comfortable with receiving. Okay, we're going to do the boundary challenge differently today. Much of this class today comes from my InnerWork program, and I'll share that a little bit of the details of that with you at the end. And I also want to make sure I save time at the end for a Q&A. Okay, so we're going to get clear together. Let's do this. I want you to grab a notebook and a pen, or a paper and pen, anything, because you're going to be writing some things down along the way. I do better when I actually have action steps to take. So this class is going to be some real action steps for you to look at yourself. Okay, so this is straight from Google. What the heck is a boundary? A boundary is a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line. And then we have personal boundaries, right? We should. We have personal and energetic boundaries that mark the lines of our personal space, that marks the lines of our emotions, that marks the lines of our energy. And part of the reason empaths and sensitives struggle with boundaries is because we are so intuitive that we naturally blur the boundary lines because we can feel into other people much deeper than the average person. So do you see how energetically we're already crossing the normal lines when we can feel, even though somebody might be saying, I'm fine, but you know how you can feel that that's not true? That you've crossed the boundary using your just intuitive gifts. And I think what happens unconsciously is that person unconsciously knows that you've crossed the line. And then what happens is we get people into our lives who cross the lines also, because on an unconscious level, we've made an agreement to cross the lines. I hope that's not too complicated. So much of it is unconscious. And I learned this when I was a teacher so many years ago in the 90s. I taught 4th grade. And my first year teaching, I was struggling. My class, the kids would talk whenever they wanted. They weren't bringing their homework in, but they loved me. They loved my classroom. And the teacher next to me was strict. She was probably 30 years older than me. She was at the end of her teaching career, and I was just at the beginning. But she was strict. If the pencil wasn't sharpened before the class started, they got a check mark. If they were talking when they weren't supposed to be talking, they got a check mark. And she was strict. And I kind of said to myself, I never want to be that kind of teacher. I want it to be fun. I wanted the kids to love me. And I was worn down though. Like every single day she walked in, consistently happy, bright, shining, organized. And I came in struggling, unorganized, worn down. And she pulled me aside one day and said, if you don't start setting boundaries and expectations, you're going to burn out. You're not going to make it past your 1st or 2nd year. And so begrudgingly, I adopted her system of this check mark. And I told the kids, if you don't, we're going to have new rules now. You need to have all your supplies. You need to have your homework. There's no talking when I'm talking, whatever all my rules were. And I stuck with it. It was painful. I felt so bad, but I stuck with it. And about 3 weeks later, all the chaos was gone. Everybody came in with their homework. Everybody had their supplies. We never had chaos anymore. It was shocking to me. And then the other thing, everyone was happier. Yeah, we had a rough 3 weeks of some sadness when I had to, give check marks to the kids. But after about 3 weeks, when everybody got up to speed on what was expected, they were happier. I was happier. So that was my first real effort into speaking my expectations and boundaries to people. And boy, did it work. And then it led to me doing that the rest of my life, which was very helpful. Okay, so setting boundaries is letting your family and your friends know what you need and want, what you expect from them, where your boundaries are. Does that make sense? And I do agree that it can be challenging in the beginning. Okay, once you get over that hump though, life is good. So now I want to talk about the 5 key concepts to help you get clear about what you want and need. Okay, here we go. I'm so excited to share these with you because I think if we make improvements, even a little bit in each of these 5 areas, boundaries will naturally take place. Okay, self-centered versus other-centered. Self-centered is you think of yourself before you say yes and no to others. We don't usually like self-centered people. If you think of a self-centered person, you probably think of a narcissist, right? People who only think of themselves. And then an other-centered person is you think of others before you say yes or no to others. In other words, you say yes to others before you consider yourself. And then a self-centered person, they consider themselves first before they consider the other person. Does that make sense? And here's the kicker. For so long, when I would see someone thinking of themselves before others, I didn't like them. I thought they were narcissists. I have later found out that is not the case. Okay, so here, look at the scale. I actually want you to draw it on your paper, and you can just call it the self-other scale. On one side of the scale is the extreme self-centered. Maybe we even call that person a narcissist. And on the extreme opposite end is other-centered. They only operate from thinking of others first. That is just as much of an imbalance as being self-centered. I want you to mark with an X, where do you fall on this scale? Just tap into yourself right now, be as honest as you can, and where do you fall on the scale? Don't think about it too much. Do you feel balanced with that? Do you feel out of balance? I'm guessing most of you are going to be out of balance on the other center side. Well, write it in the chat for me. Are you more self-centered, other-centered, or do you feel balanced? Type it in the chat. And I don't know if this is going to work, but Olivia, can you unmute yourself and tell me what people are saying, if they're saying anything at all?
Yeah, so Chris says other-centered. Danielle says 80% toward other-centered. Kathy says centered on, oh my gosh, there's a lot coming in, centered on other-centered side. Maggie says other-centered. Debbie says other-centered. Gretchen says 3 degrees from other-centered, but was once other-centered 100%. Catherine says trying to be self-centered, but still too other-centered. Karen says 70% other-centered. Tina says other-centered. Denise says other-centered. And Kara says she's very close to balanced, but maybe a tiny bit more self-centered. Connie says other-centered. Annie says 60% towards self. Amara says slightly more self-centered. Sue says other-centered. Betsy says other-centered. Nickery says other-centered. Annette says other one away from other-centered. And Anne says 100% other-centered and wanting to change that.
Yes, amen. Okay, so thank you for that. I think one of the best things, so isn't this interesting? I'm not saying to you, learn to say no. I want to give you a way that you can start operating from the inside to get your yes and no feeling firm with it. So to help set boundaries lovingly, I want you to ask yourself, when someone asks you for something or they need your help or whatever the boundary you're trying to decide, I want you to go like this. If I was going to operate self-centered and think of myself first, what would I answer? And then I want you, if I was going to operate from other-centered, how would I answer? I want you to just start becoming aware of the difference between those things. So we don't want to be completely self-centered, and I don't think you ever will be. You're just not wired that way. I'm just trying to help you move away from completely other-centered. And if I tell you that can be just as harmful as a narcissist, I hope that scares you straight. Okay. Key boundary concept number 2. Poor boundaries and low self-esteem. They are tied together, believe it or not. Having poor boundaries also has its roots in low self-esteem. People who lack confidence in their own worth and abilities usually have poor boundaries. Does that surprise you, yes or no? Being afraid that people will be angry or disappointed if you set boundaries is another sign of low self-esteem. Is that a new concept for you guys, or do you realize that? It was a shock for me when I learned that. When you know that you are 100% worthy, and you are, just you being born and living on earth, gives you 100% worthy badge. Whether you believe it or not, that is a fact. You are 100% valuable. No matter what you've done in your life, it is just the fact that you are 100% valuable, just you being you. And that your life and your purpose are extremely important. I have chills now. Boundaries are not a problem when you know these things, the truth about yourself, that you're worthy, valuable, and that your purpose here on earth is very important to you and to others. Boundaries aren't a problem for people who know that. Okay, the self-esteem scale. You can either draw this out again or just write your answer, but I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat again. So when we just talked about 100% worthy, you are 100% valuable, you have a purpose here on earth, and it's important for you to step in that direction. How true is that for you? Are you at 0% worthy, 30% worthy, 50% worthy and valuable, 100? Write it down and then put it in the chat for me. And you might be saying to yourself, do you really want me to put in the chat like 50% worthy? I do, if that's how you feel. Because here's what I've learned about this. What we measure can be improved. I don't know what's going on in our consciousness, but if I start to get my clients to start saying, I feel I'm 50% worthy, I know I can help them start to improve that. And if I can get someone to internalize and believe that they are 100% worthy, boundaries aren't a problem, doubt isn't a problem, life purpose, they get clear about that. So one of my jobs is helping people see the truth of themselves. You are 100% worthy. But where do you feel today? Type it in the chat. Olivia, did anybody type anything in the chat?
Yeah, we have a lot.
Good. Just read some to me and I'll get a feel for it.
Let's see. Paris says 70 to 90% worthy. Betsy says 60%. Amara says 100%. Let's see. Debbie says about 50% up from around 10%. Sue says 20%. Anne says 90%. Debbie says 60%. Kind of all over.
Okay, good. So that's great. And no, there's no judgment, right? Wherever you are, you are. And there's no judgment. The goal, the mindset that I want you to have, I think I have it on the next slide, is, I think this was something I did years ago, and I really think it worked. I made a tape for myself just on my smartphone, and I just played some really soothing music, and I said, I am 100% worthy. I am 100% valuable. And I would do that over and over again until I had about a 20-minute meditation. And I would put that in my ears every day. And it felt like coffee. Like, you have a coffee pot and the coffee drips into the pot. And then eventually all those drips equal a full pot of coffee. That's how I feel about daily meditation. It's just like one drip a day. And the next thing you know, you got a full pot of I'm 100% worthy. I've also found that doing the inner work, which I'll talk to you about later and what we're doing now, pretty quickly brings worthiness up. And just getting with people in this vibe like us today, we have the intention to help and heal each other. That vibration brings up worthiness. Okay. Key boundary concept number 3, proactive life versus a reactive life. Let's talk about this. You know what I mean by a reactive life is you just react to, like, if somebody says, I need this, I want to, can you drive me here? Could you help me? I'm sick, take care of me. You're just reacting to all the needs of other people, right? The phone rings, you grab it. Somebody texts you, you answer it right away. You're reacting to everybody coming at you. That's a reactive life. I have noticed that can cause draining and frustration. And I did it for a long time, but no one taught me there was another way to do it. That's how my mom did it. She just took care of everyone. Then that's how I did it until I got too sick that I got some help for myself. And then a proactive life. Proactive life leads to feelings of purpose. So Proactive is you decide where you're going, like that picture I just showed, like on the map. Oh, maybe I can go back. Did that work? I hope. On the map, good. Like that person knows where they're going. They got their keys and they're going there. They're not just going to drive aimlessly and like, I don't know where we're going. I don't know. You know where you want to go and you go there. Okay, so this is the proactive reactive scale. You can draw it out or you can just write your answer in your notebook, but eventually I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat. What kind of life do you lead? Do you lead a completely proactive life, which could really look self-centered eventually? Do you lead a reactive life, or are you somewhere in the middle? Kind of feel into that for yourself. Even think about today. What was it like? It had to be a little proactive because you're here. You said yes to showing up here. Write it in the chat too, and Olivia will start to speak those to us. What do people say, Olivia, if anybody has said anything yet?
Susan says, in the middle. Larissa says, I feel 70% worthy now. I worked on myself a lot, but I am still working on myself. Darlene says, too reactive. Debbie says, reactive, but working hard to be more and more balanced. Let's see. Amara says, 65% proactive because I'm very slow. Danielle says, mostly reactive. Darlene says, I have started saying no more often. Yeah, there's a bunch.
That's awesome. Thank you, honey. We already just did that. Here's the conflict. There's so many little bits and pieces to this, but empaths and sensitive souls, they are the healers and helpers of the world, right? And they will sacrifice boundaries. They'll sacrifice their needs and wants to make other people happy, because underneath all that, they are healers. And there's a part of them that wants to, it's your life purpose, right? If you're an empath, your life purpose, I haven't met an empath whose life purpose wasn't to serve in some way. So there's a lot of pieces to that, but you can get lost in the shuffle. So we want to balance our proactive and reactive. So for me, when I was reactive, I had the need to help people and heal people, but I was doing it at the cost of my health. I ran myself into the ground. Now I live a more proactive life. I've decided what kind of helper and how I want to serve, but I had to put everybody on the back burner while I figured that out and take steps into that direction. That was me figuring out my life purpose in a proactive way. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay. If someone has low self-esteem, in other words, they don't own their worthiness, they usually live reactive lives. People with high self-esteem usually live proactive lives. And these are really similar to self-centered versus other-centered, isn't it? Making ourselves a priority, making others a priority. It's not one or the other, it's a balance of those. Okay, this is where it might get juicy and heavy, and I can't wait to hear what everybody says about this. Key concept number 4, obligations. If your life is composed mostly of obligations, you will experience lack of joy, happiness, and fulfillment, period. Okay, get your pencil out, get your paper out. You're not gonna like this, but do it, because I'm gonna make it better for you. List as many obligations as you can think of right now. Like, I'm gonna give you a full minute. Write down your obligations, your financial obligations, your work obligations, your family obligations, the obligations to yourself if you have them, house, pet, legal obligations if you have them. I'll give you a little bit of time right now. Write them down. Okay, did you get some obligations written down? Was that easy, hard? How does that feel? Maybe I need to ask that. How does it feel? Right? Will you write it down in the chat box? How did it feel to you to write down your obligations? Heavy, light, happy, sad, neutral? Start writing down how it feels to literally write out your obligations. And Olivia, could you share those with me?
Shelly says it feels overwhelming. Yeah. Gretchen says it feels like a major drag. Danielle says exhausting and heavy. Kara says feels pretty good because my obligations don't feel heavy anymore.
Awesome.
Let's see. Tashina says draining. Catherine says putting heavy on paper. Annette says stressful. Connie says overwhelming. Sue says she has no problem writing out her obligations. And then Gretchen says it makes her want to get in her car and drive to the beach.
I'm going with you, Gretchen. Okay, that's good. I think most people feel that same feeling of the heaviness, the overwhelm. And I did not mean to trigger, maybe I did mean to trigger it in you. But here's what I know. That same feeling that you just had, you actually carry with you unconsciously, or maybe consciously, every single day. It is an energy drain. Does that make sense? I want to put boundaries around our obligations. Like, I want to create a proactive solution to our obligations. And we're going to try that now together. Okay, if you wrote down your obligations like I asked, here's what I want you to do next. Next to each obligation, I want you to make a choice. Do you want to keep that obligation as it is? Can you somehow want to think about how you could lighten the load? Could you eliminate it? Could you delegate it? In other words, it becomes someone else's job? Or could you automate it? Does that make sense? Each obligation, you're going to make a decision. Keep it, figure out how to lighten it. I'm going to eliminate it. I'm going to delegate it. I'm going to automate it. I want you to take a minute right now and do that. This is us being proactive, reclaiming our energy leaks, reclaiming our energy from where it leaked out. Okay. Type in the chat if you can, how does this feel to do this? Have you ever thought about, just give me some insight. Have you ever done something like this? I'll give you a great example. For me, grocery shopping was one of my jobs, and cooking dinner and cleaning the house. So what I did what I've done now is I've automated grocery shopping, right? I do it online. I set time out at the beginning of the week, and I have the groceries delivered, right? I've automated that. Now my girls are older, I can delegate that job also, but it's not my obligation anymore. Does that make sense? And it's not easy to set these systems up, but man, once you start to do it and practice it a few times, you get your energy back. Okay, Olivia, did anyone write anything in?
Let's see. Karen says, I've worked on reducing my obligations and now I feel healthier by carrying a lighter load. Debbie says, I can feel it with me all the time. Catherine says, let's see. Kathy says, I've been working on lightening a lot of my obligations. Connie says, useless because I've tried delegating and no one will step up to do their part. Even with a broken leg, I have to do everything I didn't get done.
We need to talk about that. Okay, we'll do it at the end. Anybody else?
Danielle said it felt good to think about how to change the obligations to fit better.
Awesome.
Amara says, I love this exercise.
Good. This is us being proactive. and like taking time out of our lives for us. I feel like sometimes, maybe it's everyone, but definitely us empaths and sensitives. If you think about a bucket of water and you imagine poking holes in the bucket, what happens to the water? It will leak out, right? And we think more about pouring more water in the top, but I'm saying let's just plug up some of the holes and keeping our energy. That's kind of where I'm coming from with this. Okay, so how does doing this exercise help us set boundaries? So here's how it has helped me. When you start to look at the requests, the tasks, and the obligations that come your way from the lens of what can be eliminated, what can be delegated, automated, how can I make this easier for me or us? This is an empowering, high self-esteem, proactive mindset. I'm so much like this now, my life's so much better. Like if my kids come at me, you probably do this too. If anybody comes at me with a task or an obligation or a request, my first instinct now is, I might say, I don't know if I have time for this. Is there any way we could delegate this? Is there any way we could automate this? Is there any way that we could make this easier for the both of us? Like, that's my question back. So I don't give them a yes or no, or maybe I do sometimes. But if I'm not sure, I'll just ask the question, how can we make this easier for us? And then it's like we're co-creating together a solution. Okay, key concept number 5, feed your soul activities, which is really important for us empaths. Really important. Okay, here's another exercise for us. I think this is our last exercise. Okay, this is hopefully going to lighten things up and be fun, but we'll see. List everything that you do that feeds your soul. In other words, that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, that brings you peace, fun, and connection to your true self. Write them down right now. And then if you could, share some of those in the chat box too. What do you love to do? Olivia, has anybody written anything in the chat box?
Let's see. Susan says the beach, reading, learning, and yoga. Annette says karaoke. Debbie says music. Debbie says take a walk by the lake and talk to my son. Let's see, there's more coming in. Sue says I love to do crafts, sit and relax and listen to music. Gretchen says writing group, reading, receiving massage therapy. Amara says meditation, cooking and fermenting, reading, and roller skating. And there's a bunch more coming in.
Awesome. Thank you. So my next question to you is, how often do you allow yourself to do those? Are you willing and committed to making feed your soul activities a priority in your life? Like, could you put that in the chat? How many people are really good at doing their feed your soul activities? Yes or no? Are you good at it or not? Put that in the chat. I go up and down. I'll get so busy. It's if I don't block it into my calendar now because of my life, I won't do my feed your soul activities. They have to be booked in my calendar. Are people saying yes or no? They're good at those or not yet, Olivia? Oh, you're unmute yourself.
Sorry. People say they try to do them weekly. Amara says she tries to do them daily. Debbie says I'm getting so much better at it. Kara says she's been good at it this past year. Susan says not so good lately, but wanting to do better. Sue says not good at it. Life gets in the way.
Awesome. Thank you. So the question is, are you willing to proactively, in other words, proactive for me means I have to book it in my calendar. Are you willing to incorporate feed your soul activities into your life, into your daily life? We want that to be a yes. Okay, here's the 5 key concepts again. Number 1, balancing your self-centered versus your other-centered. We don't want to be too far either way. We want to be balanced. The best thing you can do is when someone requests your help, you go inside. You may have to say to them, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. And you pull back, get by yourself, and feel into self-centered, other-centered, and make a choice from there. If nothing else, that exercise will start to get you from just saying yes right away to make others happy. You're going to say, give me a second to think about that, pull back, and feel into yourself. Number 2, focus on high self-esteem. This might be the top one for empaths and sensitives. If I could just help you realize your true self, your worthiness, everything else changes. Boundaries are easier. Life purpose becomes clear. That's like the number one thing I feel like I help people with. Number 3, create a proactive life. You map out the GPS of your life. You're the driver of the car. You're the boss of your life. You get to design it any way you want. You just have to take time and do it. Okay. Number 4, obligations. But remember our new mindset, what can be delegated? What can be automated? What can be eliminated? What can I do less of? How can I lighten the load of this? Be proactive and make those decisions. And number 5, feed your soul. And this is your life. You didn't come to earth here to struggle. Feed your soul daily and make it a priority. Like, we don't want to die someday and wherever we go after death. I grew up Catholic, so I imagine we go to heaven. And I don't want to be in heaven and go, wow, good job. You worked hard, then you worked hard again, and then you were sad, and then you were worn down. I'm not doing that. I want to go like this when I'm in heaven. Wow, you helped so many people. You really enjoyed your life. You had the deepest conversations with people. You love that. Like, I want to say those things. I went off on a tangent there. Okay, what is your biggest takeaway? This I want you to write in the chat. Like, if you got one thing out of this content today, what is it? Write that in the chat. I can't wait to hear this. What's the aha that you got, or the thing that you want to grab and remember? Olivia, is anybody writing anything in the chat?
Annette said self-worth. Amara said delegate everything. Susan says take better care of Susan. Yeah. Danielle says realizing where I stand on the scales. Chris says feels like spiritual therapy. Karen says making myself a priority every day. Let's see. Tashina says putting myself first. Debbie says a better method of finding balance to self-esteem.
Think before you commit.
Oh, thank you, Judith. Oops. Olivia, are you still there?
Yeah. Do you want me to keep reading?
Yeah.
Let's see. Denise says I'm worth it and to take good care of myself. Sue says self-worth. Kathy says work on my low self-esteem and poor boundaries. Darlene says balance everything. I'm going through a little bit.
Yeah, give me 1 or 2 more.
Jojo says find my true self and stay positive.
That's awesome. That was so good. I love what everybody picks up. The thing that's coming to my mind right now is, like, I feel like what I gave you is action steps, which is great. And I want to add another thing to this. Somebody said it was spiritual therapy. That just gave me chills, because I do think this is what this is. Although I'm not a therapist, so I would never call it therapy. For me, a big part of me getting my self-esteem high and understanding my worthiness was actually eliminating emotions that I was running, like sadnesses, fears, guilt. So instead of me trying to boost my self-esteem, I went and felt those things that I didn't even know existed within me. And it kind of felt like a ball underwater. Just immediately, my worthiness popped up when I released the heavier stuff. Does that make sense? So I'm glad that you have takeaways, but a quicker, easier way is for us to eliminate the things that aren't serving you. You'll naturally become your true self. Okay. So this boundary challenge class was a part of my InnerWork program, and I'd like to share that with you right now. The InnerWork program is a 6-month coaching and energy clearing program for women. And if you notice, it says energy clearing. I think that's what I was just trying to describe when I talked about if we could just eliminate things that are running in you, like guilt, sadnesses, frustrations, abandonments. Like if we can eliminate those, your worthiness just naturally rises because that's your true self. Sometimes to me, it almost feels like cloud cover. Like we have clouds around we're like perfect. And then if I can just help you eliminate the clouds, then just you shine. Sometimes it's more that than adding more stuff on, like be proactive, although that's important. Sometimes eliminating the energy clearing is quicker. Okay, the InnerWork program is for you if you're ready to look inside yourself and heal what needs healing, shift how you perceive yourself, and create positive change in your life. The InnerWork's a combination of energy clearing, which I just described before, coaching, and consistently working on yourself with support from me and the community. Here's some of the things we're going to address in the InnerWork. It's what I said before. Emotional patterns that aren't serving you, like sadnesses, grief, loss, frustrations, angers, shames, guilts, fears, regrets, and other emotions that will show up as you heal yourself. It is fascinating. We have these things running in us, so much of it unconsciously. If you think again about you being a bucket of water and we plug up or release the things that aren't serving us, it's a huge change in your life. We also address relationships with your children, your significant other, family, friends. It doesn't matter, strangely enough, if these people are still in your life or not. If you're still holding on to memories that are being supported by emotions that aren't serving you, we need to look at those and release those. This is another cool thing. We look at relationship with money, belief patterns around money, around your income, and clearing toxic money in your life. And you might say, Michelle, why in the heck would we talk about money in a healing program? It's the biggest way. It's one of the biggest doorways I use to heal myself. And it's one of the biggest doorways I've helped other people with. It's really, we have a relationship with money because that's what we use. It's what our culture uses. It's so much tied to our self-worth. It's amazing. So just trust me on that. That's a cool way to. And then the cool thing is when you clear your relationship with money, you will experience more abundance in that area. It happened for me. It happens for others. Another big piece I think is important to address in the InnerWork is your life purpose, your work in the world, your limiting beliefs about what you believe is possible for you to accomplish in the world. I guess I just said that, expanding what's possible for you. I'm going to cry. I see it with every single woman. You are capable of so much in this lifetime. And I want you to see that in yourself because that makes for an amazing life. We address boundaries, self-esteem, obligations, and priorities. We did a little bit of that today. There's a bigger piece of it inside the program. Based on my own experience in helping other women heal their lives, I'm convinced that the outer world is just a reflection of the inner world. And that is really good news because if you have a struggle in your reality, in your physical world, all I need is you. And when we change the energy within you, that situation changes. It's a crazy fact. Okay, so how does this program work? I will share it with you. When you join, you'll get immediately get an email giving you access to your first InnerWork module. Each week, you'll receive a new module sent to your inbox. Each month, we have 2 live coaching calls, energy clearing calls. They're just like this on Zoom. We meet face-to-face on Zoom, and everybody gets a chance to talk. We also have a private InnerWork Facebook group where I check it every day and connect with anybody who's struggling, or not just struggles, but like wins, struggles, whatever's going on in your life. It is a container to help you heal your life. So this is the value of the program. The 26 modules has a value of $700. The 6 months of group coaching and energy clearing calls is $2,500. The InnerWork Facebook group has a value for the 6 months of $500. So that is a total of $3,700. This is the bonus for this. I'm really excited about this. We have another group, and some of you are already in this group. We have a membership called Intuition Circle, and it's for women. Let's see, I might have another. This is Intuition Circle, and it is a place where we practice developing our intuition. We have several calls a month where we actually practice giving readings and intuitive hits to each other. It's a joy. It is one of my favorite things. So with that bonus of the free membership to Intuition Circle, which is a value of $180, the InnerWork program you can join today for $147 a month. Olivia and Emmy are going to put the link to read more about this in the chat box, I believe, if you're okay to do that. This is what one of our members said of the InnerWork program. I can't say enough about the InnerWork program led by Michelle Legaly. My experience with our InnerWork group, though not easy, has been the most important and necessary thing I've done for myself. It has been deeply healing and given me confidence and faith in myself. I began with anxiety about sharing myself with the group and ended feeling profound gratitude for the amazing women. Michelle led us down our own paths together with love, compassion, and always making us feel safe. I feel truly blessed to have had this experience. Thank you, Shan. That just made when you sent me that, it meant so much to me. Here's my last minute idea today. For the first 5 women who sign up today, you'll receive a private coaching and energy clearing session with me. So my private clients, they pay $500 now a session. And I'm offering a private session to the first 5 women who sign up. And we will have a first private session. I will help you clear whatever's standing in the way of you doing, and having what you want and being your true self. And then I also think in that session, we'll kind of map out what your big dreams are in the 6 months together, what you hope to accomplish. And I am very particular about measuring things. If you say you want something and I believe the InnerWork program can do it, then I expect by the end of the InnerWork program that you have that thing, that you notice that difference. Okay, let's do a Q&A. So Olivia, if anybody has any questions, you can ask questions about the InnerWork program. You can ask questions about the boundary webinar we just did. Does anybody have a question? Type it in the chat if you do.
Kathy says to go over pricing again because she was confused. I think maybe just tell them what it is per month. Maybe the value thing was confusing.
Okay, so, Kathy wants to know. So Kathy, it is $147 a month, and the program goes for 6 months. And what can I tell you about it? The biggest things I think what I need to know is like, how does this work? So how it happens is once you sign up, you'll immediately get access to the first lesson. It will be sent to your email. And you'll go through that lesson. I think most lessons are about, I'll say, I hope I'm not too wrong with this, like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Each one is about a certain subject, like let's say guilt. And in the guilt lesson, it's a little bit like what we did today. You're gonna write out past guilts, present guilts. You're gonna tap into yourself, write them down. I'm gonna take you through an energy clearing process. You're going to measure if it has changed or not. So little by little, we're clearing the stuff that doesn't serve you and is a drain on your energy. And then we come back to, what do you want? in my own mind, I really believe I call this the weed and seed program. I don't usually say that out loud, but this program is me helping you weed the things that are no longer serving you. And then there's the space to seed what you want. I have not found a more clear path to transformation besides the weed, what's no longer serving you, and getting clear on what you want and moving in that direction. And then sometimes when you move in your new direction, the fears will pop up again, and then we weed again. We look at those, process those, weed those, clear those, and then you take the next step. That's what this program really is. And then you come to the live coaching calls. I'll say things like, how's the program going for you? What's coming up for you? Or what's coming up in your life right now? And we just work in the moment. We just work with what's showing up. That's the best way. That's the most productive way. And then we have our Facebook group. If you ever have homework to post in there, or it's accountability. And then anytime you're struggling, you come into the Facebook group and I will respond to you. Did that answer your question, Kathy? I hope.
It looks like maybe she might still be confused about the price, I think.
Okay.
147 times 6 is 882, not 646. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe you can. I might be confused on it too, but and I can speak to you an email, Kathy, if you want to. It's $147 a month for 6 months. So it's $147 each month for 6 months. And then maybe I need to speak to her.
I think she was confused about the value versus the price. I think maybe that confused a couple people.
Okay.
But $147 a month is what they need to know.
Yeah, and if there's still confusion around that, please we'll make a time where people can email us and I can make that clear.
And then Connie says, so everyone starts when they start, meaning when they join, there will be others already along their way.
Correct. I think we have 5 members right now, maybe 6 members. And some people are several weeks into it, or maybe several months into it. Someone just signed up yesterday. It doesn't matter. You are where you are. Does that make sense? It wouldn't even matter if you started this at the same time, because everyone starts wherever they are in their life. So yes, everyone's at different points. Another question? If I answered that, I hope I did correctly.
Let's see. Connie says, just like others, this is the beginning of the month, so money is tight at the moment. However, if that price stays the same, I would love to join soon.
So here's my plan for this program. I've never offered it publicly before. It's always been just if I'm on a call with somebody and I think it's the right fit, I've offered it to them. So that's why it's small. I'm sure it will stay small. And it's $147 now, and it's going to be like that for the next, I think, about week. I'm going to open the doors up publicly, and then I'm going to close them, and then I'm going to restructure the pricing. The price is going to go up. So that's how that's going.
Kathy says she wants to sign up.
Yay, Kathy. So when you sign up, that's awesome. You'll go through, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think, isn't it, Olivia? You'll just go to the page. It'll show you the button to join, and then you'll automatically get sent an email. And it'll take you through everything, like this is how you join our Facebook group. This is your first module. If you have any questions, email team@MichelleLeGailey. And you're looking at the team right here, me and Olivia.
It's Kathy from Intuition Circle. Kathy Begin.
Oh, yeah. Kathy, which Kathy?
Begin? Or
yes.
It's K Begin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Kathy, that's awesome.
Okay, Annette says, so you start at your own pace, ?
You start at your own pace. Who is this?
Annette.
Annette, you start at your own pace, but you get one module a week. If I gave it all to you, you would get overwhelmed. It's a lot, but we also have 6 months together. So you'll get one module a week. You'll do that in the week. So I would say in your mind, commit to yourself in this program about 45 minutes to an hour a week. That's what I think this would take if you're really going to do the work. 45 minutes a week. And then maybe when you think about the live calls that we have, an hour, we have those every other week for an hour. So at least an hour a week, you need to commit to this, 45 minutes to an hour.
Annette says, how many people in a session?
We have 5 people in the group right now, Annette. I think a few people this week will join. I would be shocked if we had more than 10. It's a small group of awesome women. Here's what I did in my head, Annette. I thought if it went over 10, and I don't think it will, then I would start another pod. Because I want everyone on the calls to make sure that they get time if they want it. And I want to keep that going because I really like that piece that I can really check in and help every single person. So I thought if it got too big, like more than 10, that I was going to start a second pod or a second for our calls, a second group. That's in my head, my plan.
Catherine says, can you clarify more how it works, like working with others or weekly emails and tasks?
So kind of how the program runs. Do you think that's what she's asking?
Yeah, maybe like week to week, like how they get emailed.
Got it. So it kind of goes like this. Whatever day you sign up, let's say you sign up today. What's today? Thursday. You sign up today and immediately you'll get the first lesson. We have 2 calls a month, and actually our next call is tomorrow, right? We have an InnerWork call tomorrow. So tomorrow at 1:00, we meet together on Zoom just like this. So you'll get your lesson, and I don't expect you to have your lesson done by our call tomorrow. So don't ever feel overwhelmed. And there's lots of times when people say, Michelle, I fell behind. It's fine. It's okay. Breathe. We've got time together. So you'll get your first lesson. We've got our call tomorrow. We have our Facebook group. Next Thursday, you'll get your next lesson, and then you're off that Friday. Then the next Thursday comes, you'll get your next lesson. We're back on the call together that following Friday. Does that make sense? So the whole month, you probably get 4 lessons, depending on how many weeks in the month, and we have 2 live calls. Does that make sense? Did I answer that?
Michelle?
Yes?
Could you just very expressly and exactly, if possible, explain in your description of the difference between empaths, sensitives, intuitives, and psychics?
Oh, okay. No one has asked me all those at once. So I'll just give you my definition of each. I'll start with empaths and sensitives. To me, empaths and sensitives are so similar. The only difference I see between them is empaths can get physically sick from it. They literally take on the pain. Whereas a sensitive might say they're sensitive to noticing someone else's pain. I think empaths will feel the pain themselves. They'll take on the characteristics of the pain. Does that part make sense, Sybil?
Yes.
Okay, good. And then let's do intuitives now and psychics. You want me to be honest?
Please.
Okay, intuitives and psychics to me are the same thing. When I talk about intuitives, I'm talking, in my world, they're the same thing. But I've learned through working with so many people that people don't like the word psychic. Like, for example, my intuitive circle used to be called Psychic Intuitive Development, and so many people were afraid of the title that I changed it to Intuition Circle. So intuitives, I think the empaths and sensitives are the intuitives. Because think about it, an intuitive person just can pick up on people's feelings, they pick up on their thoughts, they pick up on their emotions. That's intuitives, sensitives, and empaths all do that. It's the same thing. Now a psychic, I've learned people have so many different meanings for psychic, but in my world, a psychic is an empath sensitive who uses their intuition to help someone else. I'm going to use my intuitive abilities to read you, to help you. That's, to me, is what a psychic is. Does that make sense?
It does.
Good. So, but to be honest, in Intuition Circle, we do psychic work because it is the fastest way I know to help sensitive souls increase their value and worth. Because here's what happens. They go like this. You know how we're intuitive, so we're empaths. We have these feelings. And when someone shares what they're getting for someone else, and that person gives them the feedback like this, wow, that really helped me. That means a lot to me. When that empath, that boosts their esteem immediately. They're like, what I said has value. What I said heals you. And they start to believe in themselves. I get chills just talking about it. That's the quickest way I've helped people, is to force them to give readings and get feedback.
Michelle,
does that make sense? Okay, I just want to make sure it makes sense to Sybil.
It does make sense.
Good. And then somebody else had a question.
Yes. Now, does this, joining this InnerWork program, you get to also join the group Intuition Circle?
Yes, you get free access for 6 months to Intuition Circle. And that's actually closed right now to the public, but you will have access to it the day you join the InnerWork program.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's, I can't say enough good things about this program and that. I know I feel like they're my programs, but I don't mean it that way, but I am literally the things that healed me, I created. This is what these two things are.
Awesome.
Okay, what else? Any other questions?
Now, one last thing, the 147 for 6 months.
Yes.
Is that the Intuition Circle? Or is it not? Or is that the InnerWork Program? Please forgive me.
That's okay. The InnerWork Program, which is the program open today, is $147 a month. With that, you get Intuition Circle, and that costs you nothing.
Okay, and that's the first 5 people.
No, the first 5. I'm sorry. The first 5 people that join get a private session with me.
Okay, so I'm in. So put the wherever that is.
Good.
I'm in the first 5. Did you get that, Michelle or Olivia?
I got it, Sybil.
Okay, because I get a little confused on pushing all these buttons, and I don't want to cut you off, so I'm in. Just that is.
Got it. Okay, that's hysterical. I love it.
I'm in.
So, does anybody else have a question? I just want to make that super clear for everybody that the InnerWork program, everyone gets Intuition Circle with it. Everybody. And then the first people who sign up today will get a private session with me. And what I do with everyone in private clients is I use my psychic abilities, my coaching, and the energy clearing. And you will see a difference after a session. I know I feel like such a confident, but I've worked with hundreds of people at this point, and I know how to help people.
Michelle
would like to join too.
Great. Will you type that in the chat so Olivia can see that? I know the link is in there, and you can go ahead and join.
I'm on the phone.
Oh, got it. Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Well, if you're on the phone, you can go to michellelegale.com on your computer. And if you scroll down to private healing and click learn more, that's where you can join.
Okay, perfect.
So michellelegale.com.
Thanks, Liv. Kathy, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so I currently pay for the Intuition Circle, so then I wouldn't be charged for that for 6 months.
Exactly. So
number 1.
Correct. And you and I will make sure we take care of that. Olivia and I will get a hold of you and make sure we clear that up and get it correct.
Okay, and then number 2, I will not be able to make the call tomorrow, so is there a replay on that?
I don't do a replay on it because it's deep stuff. People are really vulnerable, and my gut has always said that's not the right thing to do.
Okay.
So we do not record those calls.
Okay. All right, I'll have to make a decision then. Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm so glad, Kathy. I can't wait to work with you. Okay, anybody else?
Can I ask a question as well about that?
Catherine.
I'm interested in doing this, but I have financial concerns because I'm a student, so I am waiting for my financial aid packet to come in for the coming semester. I would like to maybe message you more about it, but I'm interested in trying to be one of the 5, but I have to be careful with timing for payments.
How about, why don't you message me? Either message me or email me, whatever is easier for you, and we can talk more about it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, let's see. I've got one more thing. Prize time. Okay, if you have to still be on the call, so I hope you're still here. We randomly, we had numbers in our mind, and we randomly, Emily, was her job to keep track of the number and who was the winner of this. And the prize is a 30-minute session with me if you're interested. And we'll go through whatever you need to go through. If you need some intuitive work, we'll work on that. Energy clearing, we'll work on that. It's whatever you need, and it's 30 minutes. And the winner is Tachina or Tachina. Are you still here in the chat, or you can unmute yourself? Is Tachina Brooks still here? Yes or no? Because if she's not here, we're going to move on to someone else. Oh, I know. I do too. I'm going to unmute her.
Can you hear me?
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Am I saying your name correctly?
Taichina.
Taichina?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Olivia is going to put my email in the chat box. Are you able to grab that and we can connect with each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So if you reach out to me, because I didn't want you to have to put your email in our chat box, but if you reach out to me, then I'm going to connect with you and we'll set up a time for your reading, your healing, your coaching, whatever you need.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions before we go? I'm running a little over. I apologize for that. Any other questions? Okay. Ladies, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm going to unmute everybody and we can all say goodbye together. Okay, I think you're mostly unmuted. Maybe unmute yourself. Okay.
Bye.
Bye, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sybil, I won't get off for a second. Do you see the link in the chat box? Do you see where the chat box is at the bottom?
Yeah, the little, yeah.
So click chat and then I'll click the link that I just posted.
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm gonna click that. Okay, then, oh, click that. I'm getting there.
Is it working? If you want to, you can email us and we can send it to you if this one's not working. Or you can copy and paste the link too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it joined now. There you go.
All right, girl.
Hey. And if anyone has more questions, you can email us at team@michellelegale.com.
Yeah, do you want to, is that in the chat if people need to ask any questions?
Got it.
Okay, perfect. All right, any other questions?
What time is it tomorrow and how do we get in it?
As soon as you join, you'll get all that information.
All right.
But it's tomorrow at 1 o'clock and you'll get the Zoom number and everything.
Thank you.
But you've got our email now, Sybil. You can just email us and we'll answer any questions.
And you were great. It was great. It was wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That was from yesterday.
You are welcome. All right, bye, ladies. Thank you.